welcome back. It's 6 minutes past 9 o'clock, and it's time for us to take a look at some very important things. And as you know, for the last few days, starting from last week, Tuesdays to Fridays, we have been having the EU-funded program. And it's the popularization of the River State Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law. And we've been looking at quite a number of things. We've looked at the innovations of this law. We've even defined it. And we've looked at crimes and offenses under this law. And as I said yesterday, we were looking at, the provisions or, what the victims stand to gain and what is provided for them under the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law. River State passed in 2022. And it's an initiative of the Center for Human Rights, Center for Environment, Human Rights and Development. And it's a program funded by the European Union with technical support from Agent for Citizens Transformation and the British Council. So speaking today on this issue and answering relevant questions and, just addressing concerns that you may have on this topic is a program associate, Center for Environment, Human Rights and Development, said, and that's Obiageli Oraka Oyifoge Esquire. Good morning again to you.
Good morning, Obi. Nice to be here again.
Nice to have you. Even nicer to have you. All right, so let's pick up from where we left off yesterday. And real quick, yesterday we were looking at the state rehabilitation and reintegration program, right?
We're looking at rights of victims under VAP law. So we discussed a couple of rights, and then we stopped at state rehabilitation and reintegration program.
Okay.
Yes, but before, so that we build up, let's go back to why we are here. We are trying to popularize the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law of River State, which was passed in December 2020. That's why we are here. The other times we discussed the meaning of the law itself, which we said we found at the opening statement of the VAP law itself. It says VAP law is a law to prohibit, eliminate all forms of violence against persons, whether it's happening in public or in private, to also give remedies to victims of abuse and to punish offenders and other related matters. That's what the law is about. So we did that. We discussed a couple of offenses under the VAP law, like economic violence, rape, sexual offenses, etc., etc. So today we've started discussing the right. We are continuing with the discussion on the rights of victims, which we already noted that the rights as contained in Part IV, Part 4 of the Constitution also apply to victims. First of all, we try to make everybody realize that there's nothing different about victims. Victims are also human beings. Victims could be you, victims could be me. So every other right that's accrues to every living human being also accrues to victim, be it constitutional rights, be it the rights that are contained in other laws in Nigeria, be it rights that are also contained in international and regional instruments that Nigeria has signed on for. So the victims have these rights. So we continue from where we stopped yesterday, which is the right for state rehabilitation and reintegration program. So hopefully if we are able to have extra time, we could run through the ones we discussed yesterday just so that nobody is left behind. So this particular rights for state rehabilitation and reintegration program notes that victims might have lost a lot, either physically, mentally, financially, or otherwise as a result of the abuse. And government steps in to also ameliorate all these hardships that victims have also suffered.
Yeah.
Yes. So remember that one of the distinctive feature of this law is that it is not just out to punish offenders, but or to stop the abuse, or it also goes ahead to ensure that victims are taken care of, that there are remedies for the violence or the abuses that victim had gone through in the past. So regarding this state rehabilitation, it is telling you that the government can step in to give skills to victims of abuse, or formal education, or microcredit facilities. This is contained in section 36(1)(c) of the VAP law itself. So this is an aspiration, maybe that we can say that it's more of an aspiration right now.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did not see anywhere in the law where it says that you hold government accountable if they do not do this. But we are only advising victims, or those people that are standing in for the victims, to also take their time to assess all the facilities that are available, all the helps that are available, and see how they can latch on them in order to ensure that the victim enjoys this remedy if it is needed. There's also rights of protection from double victimization at workplace or school for reporting abuse. We know what happens, especially in the offices, where maybe a certain kind of official violence abuse happens regarding violence against persons, and the
victim goes to report.
The victim goes to report. It's really, really very tedious. And if you're not careful, the person you're reporting is in the good book of your superiors at the office, or even the superior who hired you in the first place. How do you begin to manage such scenario? So you discover that sometimes, especially regarding sexual abuses, it's either the victim gives in and keeps quiet, or in
order to keep the job.
Yeah, in order to keep the job, or she continues to suffer the abuse in silence. But now with this law, victims, remember that one of the objectives we mentioned earlier regarding this law is to break the silence around gender-based violence, around violence against persons.
Yeah.
Beyond that, also to encourage people to speak up, so that the abuse will stop, because there are remedies available to you, and also to ensure that people who commit these things are accounted for their offenses, their abuses. So you discover that you make such reports at the workplace, and they start victimizing you again, or school. They could deny, they could start asking for tedious evidence. You, that a woman, you've suffered this abuse, especially when you have a lot at stake.
And you find that sometimes even the attitude of management changes towards
you. Like you want to bring bad name.
Right.
Just like a pastor had told one of the meetings we held, a pastor told someone who was trying to make sure that they resolve the abuse, sexual abuse suffered by a minor by his church member. He said, "Is the girl a virgin? Why are we even dragging this whole thing? Is the girl a virgin?"
Wow.
So just like that's the kind of attitude might play up here again. And the office people would be like, "Are you the first person that a guy checked?" But there's a difference between expressing love interest and pressurizing one, coercing someone to submit to what the person originally does not want to, because there's something she stands to lose.
Right.
Intimidation is also part of it, because you're intimidating this person. You will not get your promotion, this one, that one. We know how it plays out at the offices. So this law is there to protect staff in the offices, be it female, be it male, because this kind of abuse, it can go either way. Also in secondary schools, this is really horrible. A lot of secondary school students, they go through this. I remember when I was in secondary school myself, that we discovered one of us went to the physics lab on a Saturday.
Yeah.
In fact, you know how girls are. Some people had already been monitoring her and looking at the changes and the dynamics around her and the physics teacher. And unfortunately, that very day, she didn't know that all eyes were on her, dressed up, wore a clean pant according to her hostel mates, and stepped into the physics lab where they locked the physics lab and they were doing things. And they alarmed all of us, and everybody proceeded to that place. It was such a terrible thing.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, do you know the teacher stayed Many years after, when we had
The teacher who was...
the teacher who was caught in this act, he stayed. He stayed. I remember when we eventually formed a group and we invited our principal, we really spoke our minds, because the girl had to leave. At the end of the day, the parents had to withdraw her. But we spoke our minds. We said, now we know better. And you knew better as at that time. We were just teenagers, young people. It was the teacher abusing this girl. You let the teacher stay and you let the girl go. You know, that kind of thing. So now you see how it plays out. You don't want such history to be attached to your school and all that. So you victimize the victim who is already a victim. You victimize the victim the second time, you know, and the issue of stigmatization too attached to it. So that's what this particular law is trying to protect victims from. Double victimization. You already suffered enough. So nobody should cause you to lose your job because you reported abuse. Nobody should rusticate you from the school because you suffered abuse and you were bold enough to report. If you continue to victimize victims the second time, the culture of silence will continue to be perpetuated. And that is what we are fighting to ending the culture of silence around gender-based violence so that this would stop. So that is that on that. Then a victim is also entitled to compensation under Section 1.3. But this relates to sexual offenses stricto facto.
And I find this one really interesting. So please, I'm all ears.
Yes. So for injuries or losses suffered as a result of the violence or abuse. So, but the only place I saw that this provision for compensation is that under that Section 1.3, which deals with sexual offenses. Now, how this works is that the judge can make such order.
Okay.
It is the judge that can make this order that the victim be compensated.
And he's the one who determines the value or the amount or whatever.
Yes, exactly. Remember that in some of, especially an offense around rape, there's no option of fine. All right. So definitely the person is facing jail term if found guilty. But the judge can still add compensation, financial compensation, or some sort of compensation from that particular person to the victim, from the person, from the abusive party, to remit a form of financial compensation or otherwise, but basically financial compensation to the victim. The judge can make this order. But I can also say by extension that, for those who are not willing to go through the rigors of the law, I don't know whether the police or the people can also exercise this right. But I know it is the judge that has the rights to do this under the law. I don't know if the right can be extended to them. So the other one also is attachment of wages or savings, Section 39.3.
Attachment of
wages or savings. You know, this has to do with when there is a protection order in place. It could be interim, like I said, and it hopefully I will have time to talk about the protection order today. So it could be interim, it could be substantive. Okay, so now how this happens is especially within domestic relationships.
Yes.
And you discover that it is not working, like I said the other day, yesterday, and the couple could choose to separate, or they could even choose to divorce, or where the man forcefully ejects the woman, etc., etc. Maybe their children, or even no children, so long as the law recognizes that she is his dependent. All right, he's been the one taking care of her financial needs. And all of a sudden, you eject her, and
you want to leave her
high and dry on the streets. So she goes to court and obtains this protection order to compel the victim, the abuser, to stop abuse or to do other things that the law might demand that this person does to ensure that the victim is not left high and dry.
Okay.
So, so one of the things that the judge can also do is to attachment of wages. How it works is this person is working in an office and the judge says you'll be paying this person, your partner, so and so amount of money, and you refuse to do that, the person can go back to the court, and court will now write to the office of this man and say he's receiving so and so amount of salary.
Deduct it before
immediately and pay it into this particular person's account, even before his own portion hits his own account. So the office would be the people that will pay directly to victim. This is very effective abroad, and I hope that Nigerian women would maximize this opportunity, especially those that the men would vow that it is over their dead body would they take care of their children. If the woman is not with them, and sometimes it's even they that leave. They find some other more attractive woman and they leave.
Okay. Well, if you've just tuned in, it's Super 93.3 FM Port Harcourt, and you are listening to the popularization of the River State Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, passed in December 2020, and the program is funded by the European Union with support from Agent for Citizens Transformation and the British Council. And it's the opinion or the initiative of the Center for Environment, Human Rights and Development. And I do have their program associate on this other side, and that is Barrister Obiageli Oraka Oyifore. So if you'd like to join this conversation right now, maybe a nerve has been struck in the course of the conversation, you've got a concern you'd like to have addressed, you've got a question you'd like for her to answer concerning this law, do call the number 0705 079 1021 and 081-174-31021. You can send me a text also on 0905 948 1021 09059 481021. Don't forget to include your name and where you're texting from. You can watch the show live on Facebook and YouTube at Super FM PH. All right, back to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Obi. So, this also attachment could also extend to savings in the bank. So
Okay.
it is not just approaching your office to begin the process of deduction
Okay.
from your salary. Someone might also have savings in the bank. You know the person you're dealing with better, or might not even have. But the moment the court issues the order, any money that steps into that account is moved to the person, the beneficiary account. Yes. Now, this also it might look like, okay, so if she has my Zenith account, I will go ahead and open another account in maybe
Another bank.
Diamond Bank. But you forgot that this time around, all bank accounts are linked. This BVN is working. So with BVN, you will track everywhere the person opens the account, whether it's going to open it newly, whether it opened in the past. With BVN, the account is synergized.
Right.
So it's still very, very possible for her to get the money or him to get the money from the offender. So the law even made provisions for loan, for maybe debt that the man is even being owed. Attachment of even debt. Maybe they say the government is owing this person or a particular office for a contract and co. You're saying you don't have money, blah, blah, blah. They can still go ahead and attach that debt so that as it is being paid, they are remitting the beneficiary's own immediately to her bank account. So that is about the attachment of wages and savings. So yes, the next one is right to private trials, section 36(5), and non-publication of any information relating to the trial.
Okay.
Yes, because you remember that I said that one of the main focus of this law is domestic violence.
Yes.
It deals holistically with issues of domestic violence. So you see that it's law that looks into abuses that occur within relationships. So you discover that sometimes parties that want to utilize VAP law, it is not like they want to permanently damage their relationship, but it's because they are focusing on getting the abuse to stop.
Yeah.
So sometimes they do not want third parties poke-nosing into their affair, even extended family, the society at large. You know how this happens, and sometimes also because the kind of offenses that are envisaged are offenses that attract stigmatization from the larger public, like that of incest, where a community that I went yesterday to have a conversation, the person that spoke up said the matter that is before him now is a dad that sleeps with the daughter. You see this one now. So he groomed her when she was younger, started sleeping with her probably from her teenage years, and now she's in her 19th year or thereabout. Do you understand? So, and the mother, the neighbors found out, and then they told the mother, and she caught them in the act. All right. You do not, she reported at the police station, and, they are denying and all that.
Both parties are denying?
Both parties are denying, but they caught them red-handed, of course, So a mother who has 20-something years old daughter would not wake up one day and start. In fact, she was intimated, and then she took actions, and she caught them in the act. Wow. So such kind of information attracts stigmatization if you're not careful. Because now, as a mother, your primary duty towards your family is to protect them, especially your children. As a mother, you do your best to protect your children. Now, how do you begin to come to the public now to tell people that, oh, my daughter is sleeping with my husband? This is the same daughter you would want to, the importance we attach to marriages in Nigeria,
Is this her daughter with the man in question?
Her own daughter, the daughter she gave birth to with the man.
Wow.
Yes, I told you that we did not know the extent that incest is happening in this society until we began to do advocacies around VAP law. Incest is huge in our society. In this Rivers society, I can tell you, incest is massive. If you happen to meet anybody in FIDA, they can tell you, because the mothers bring these daughters to FIDA office also, or human rights, social welfare and co, I'm sure.
What is going on?
Devil is just having a field day. Morality is so reducing. Immorality is, I do not know. The devil is just having a fantastic time. So because at this level that we are now of civilization right now, we are importing a lot of cultures. They are watching a lot of adult content where.
But these are fathers in question. I mean, I'm just using that as an example. These are fathers who you carried this baby in your arms at birth.
It's depravity. But the government is out to also help the depraved ones, to check them. Because we can't have a society that is doing this. What if children occur from such relationship? From what we discussed about incestuous relationship, the children are bound to have some form of deformity or the other, mental or physical, And I do not even want to go into the spiritual implications of what they are doing. Yeah. So we do not want too much problems in the society. Government will not want to focus all its resources towards addressing issues of deformities and illnesses and all that. So yes, this is happening. It is happening, and it is happening in Rivers State. So everybody just make sure that you're on the lookout, on the watch out. That of cousins, uncles, defiling nieces, nephews, defiling younger nephews in gay relationship. It is terrible. So we just have to be careful and be on the watch out. I mean, I've had cases that came to me directly. So because of the intricacies around such a relationship and the need for privacy, the law has stipulated that there must be private, the victims have right to private trials to avoid stigmatization. Yes, especially those who did not yield, who were either coerced, intimidated, or forcefully, violated, so that they do not have to come out again in the society and be labeled that one way in Papa they rape. You know, it is not a good thing. Or that one when 5 boys rape. What they're saying is, the law is saying that you're the service provider, the police or the other NGO people working on the case, you are precluded from divulging information about this particular case with anybody. You don't discuss it with your spouse. You do not discuss it with your family or your friends. Even if you want to discuss such, you just discuss it as a general statement, like I've done now, occasionally done. You not without anybody being
named or fingered in the process.
Yeah, exactly. In such a way that nobody would know who you're talking about, but that this is what is happening. So that is it. And you are not also allowed to publish any information relating the trial. And even during the trial, it is only the victim, the abuser, and the police or whoever that is involved in the prosecution of the case that will be
allowed in court.
Allowed, yes. So that is it. Now, thankfully, we have little time to talk about the protection order, because that is a big right, is a big remedy for victims under VAP law. You know, right to protection order. I already said before that interim protection order, it could be interim protection order, or it could be substantive protection order. Interim protection order is when you quickly rush to the court to get this order without the court looking at the substantive case, you know, taking time to analyze. But there's an imminent harm or there's an ongoing harm that must be checked immediately so that a bigger harm does not occur. So the court can grant that, you know, before they now take their time to analyze all the substances around the case. So that protection order, what is that protection order? You find the protection order in section 27.3 of VAP law. That is where you, section 29 of VAP law. That is where the order is defined. It is an order of the court restraining the offender from continuing the offense, from committing domestic violence, an order to vacate a shared residence or not to come to the shared residence, or not to use a shared property, or any further order the court may deem fit, all right, under the circumstances. The only court with jurisdiction to do this is the High Court. They are the only court that has the right to give protection order. So from this definition, we already know what protection order is to restrain, to stop this person from doing this. Sometimes protection order can work to restore the woman's right to her home. Sometimes the protection order can even tell the man, okay, you live in a big residence, please move to the boys' quarter, she's with the children, let her be comfortable. Or it could be, okay, we've shared this house into two now, you make sure you operate from the other side of the house. She operates from this other side of the house. It would also be to remove weapon that this man is or the woman is using to abuse the other person. It could also be to mandate the man to begin to pay maintenance maintenance fees for the children. You know, it may also be for this man to go and get accommodation for the children. It may be for the woman to be restrained from hitting her husband. And oh yes, women are hitting their husband. I think it is in the Eleme community where we were doing this sensitization that a lot of them, even the police people, 3 times or thereabout, they said they kept insisting that women are really beating their husbands. In fact, the police wow. said, that's what we are facing now, no. That's where we're facing what we are facing now, no. That the women are really giving it to the men. You know, it's not funny. It's not funny because no form of abuse should be tolerated, whether the abuse is coming from the man or the abuse is coming from the woman, whether it's towards the man or towards the world, towards children. Abuse must. The society should have zero tolerance to the abuse, and that is what VAP law is here to do. So we continue to look at this protection order. We already said that it is the court that issues the order upon application by the victim or their representative. Yes. So it could be interim to just check the abuse. No. Why the court will now later give the substantive interim order. It can also be varied. All right.
Okay.
So in the course of hearing analyzing all the substances related to the case, the court may vary the protection order.
Okay.
It can also be set aside, maybe assuming that it does not qualify that the interim order can be set aside, even the protection order itself, when the issue that they came to address has been addressed. It can be set aside. There's also more to the protection order, because if the party against whom the protection order is issued, that's in the person who is being restrained, continues to violate the protection order, it can be arrested. It can be treated as contempt. You know that contempt of court is a criminal offense.
Yeah.
So the person can be arrested and it be treated as a criminal contempt. But whether the judge wants to be very lenient, the person must pay a fine of 300,000.
Wow.
The fine for violating protection order
is fixed.
Is fixed. It is 300,000 naira. I don't have the provision in my head, but it is there in the law. Okay, I can see the provision now. Section 34, violation of protection order, protective order. It is protection order. Sorry, it is 300,000 naira fine. You find it in Section 34 of Rivers State VAP Law, 2020. Okay.
Okay.
So that is it. Then who is the person that can make this apply for the protection order? Who is authorized under the law to apply? All right, because sometimes the law recognizes that most of the times the victim might not even know. The victim might not even know that they have this right. The people standing in for the victim could be the NGO who is working as a service provider for the case. It could be made by Ministry of Social Welfare and Rehabilitation, which is the coordinating ministry for VAP law. You know? That's the coordinating ministry. It could also be a teacher in school.
Right.
That observed that so and so is happening to a pupil. All right? It could also be by police. Police can do that. Social worker, health service provider that a matter came to can also do that. The law authorized this set of people to make the protection order under Section 26(5) of the VAP law. Say these people can go ahead and apply for protection order to protect the victim. All right.
Okay.
But beyond that, the other aspect that needs to be noted under protection order is that if it's an adult that you're applying on behalf of an adult for a protection order, please make sure that you get the written consent of that adult. The law just says consent too. But I always advise that you get a written consent. You get it. You get a written consent because that person might change their mind and it will be on you.
All right.
But if it is children, you do not need anybody's authorization to apply for protection order.
Okay.
The same thing with seeking for justice for them. You know, sometimes parents will come out to say, oh, we don't want this stigmatization, or we don't want this matter, or we want to settle out of court. You know the level of settlement out of court, where the parent of this abused child or teenager collects huge amount of money and eats it. The teenager who is abused will not even get anything. You know, there are parents that are so small in their minds that everything is a commodity, even their child.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but the conversation continues to get more and more interesting. But I believe that we'll continue from tomorrow again, same time, 9 a.m. But at the moment, we are looking for we're looking at who can apply for protection order, right?
Yes, I think we basically exhausted everything about the rights and the protection order.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
So what are we going to be looking at when we come back tomorrow?
I think we should be looking at the implementation actors next.
Okay.
Who are the people that are responsible to coordinate activities around VAP, and we take steps to ensure that victim, accesses his or her rights.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Barrister Obiageli Oraka Oyifoye, who is the Program Associate of the Center for Human Rights, Center for Environment, Human Rights and Development, CED. And once again, this is the European Union's funded program, and it's the popularization of the River State Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law. And this law was passed in December 2020. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Obi. Remember to give them our toll-free line.
Absolutely. So the number to call, just in case you know someone who is quietly dealing with, these issues, sexual abuse, whatever it is that we've covered over the last few days, simply call this number. It's at no cost of yours whatsoever. 080 02 000500. Again, 0800-2000-500. Or simply, it's just better put 0800 2500. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Obi.
All right, thank you. Quick music break. I'll be back with another program, and it's by Pips Global. Don't change the dial. That will be the last lap of the program for today. Take a listen to the song. It's a song by Techno. Great song that year, and it's called Rara. Don't change the dial.
On air and online, this is Super FM, Nigeria's #1 lifestyle talk and urban radio station.
Because no one does it better. We are Super FM.